Alex Eala just shocked the tennis world. The young Filipina sensation took down two of the biggest names in the game. First, she faced world-class
Alex Eala just shocked the tennis world, and nobody saw it coming.
You know, a 19-year-old Filipina just shook the US Open and became the talk of the town? From the brink of defeat to making history.
Welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, the home of the fiercest tennis content on YouTube, where we never sleep on greatness, especially when greatness is wearing the Philippine flag on her back.
She has done it again. And that is what it means to her.
Now, let me set the scene for you. We are in Rome, Italy. The Foro Italico, one of the most prestigious clay courts on the entire planet. A stage that has witnessed legends, heartbreaks, and moments that rewrote history.
Filipina just shook the US Open and became the talk of the town? From the brink of defeat to making history.
The air in Rome doesn't lie. It carries weight. It carries history. And on this particular afternoon, it carried something else entirely. The unmistakable energy of a young woman who was done playing small. Her name is Alex Eala. She is 20 years old. She is Filipino.
Ang dami akong nakitang Pinoy, dami kong nakitang Pinoy, and nagulat din ako, hindi ko inakalang ang dami-daming Pinoy dito sa Rome, pero
And she just walked onto that Roman clay court and delivered one of the most electrifying performances of her young professional career. And if you are not paying attention to this girl right now, then you are genuinely missing the story of a generation unfolding in real time.
Clay, do you think, for you and your game, that makes it maybe a little bit more tricky than hardcourt, for example?
well, I grew up on hardcourt, so
Let's talk about what happened, because the scoreline alone does not tell you the full story. Alex Eala stepped out onto that court and went head-to-head with Wang Xinyu, a seeded player, ranked 31st in the world, a legitimate threat, a seasoned competitor who knows exactly how to navigate the pressure of a big tournament on a big surface. This was not a walkover. This was not supposed to be easy. And in the early going, it wasn't. But here is the thing about Alex Eala that separates her from so many players of her generation. She doesn't panic when things get uncomfortable. She adjusts. She recalibrates. She finds her rhythm. And when she does, brother, watch out. Because that is exactly what happened in Rome. After a rocky, tentative start where you could see her finding her footing on that red clay, something clicked. The intensity dialed up. The intention sharpened. Her shots started landing with more authority, more purpose, more conviction. She stopped playing the match and started owning it. And by the time it was over, she had dispatched Wang Xinyu in straight sets and punched her ticket into the third round of the Italian Open. The third round of the Italian Open, people. Let that sink in. This is the WTA 1000 in Rome. This is one of the biggest clay tournaments in the world. This is the tournament that IGA Swiatek treats like her personal throne room. And a 20-year-old Filipina just advanced deeper into the draw and is standing there, chin up, ready for more. Now I want to take a moment and talk about what Alex said after the match, because her words were not just confident, they were revealing. They gave us a window into the mindset of an athlete who is growing right before our eyes. She said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that she was very happy with the performance she put on that day. But she didn't stop there. She acknowledged that she had to make adjustments mid-match, that she had to find a way to add more intensity to her shots, more intention, in order to take control of the match. Do you understand how significant that is? That's not just tennis talk. That's the language of a competitor who understands the chess match happening within the physical game. She diagnosed the problem in real time. She prescribed her own solution. And then she executed it on one of the most unforgiving surfaces in professional tennis against a seeded opponent. That is not luck. That is not a fluke. That is a young player who is figuring out exactly what she is capable of. And then she said something else that hit different. She said she is feeling great and that she has been working incredibly hard physically in the gym. Now again, that might sound like standard athlete interview speak, but I need you to hear what's underneath those words. Because Eala has had her battles this season. The tour is brutal. The grind is real. There are weeks where the results don't come, where the draws are unkind, where the body is tired and the confidence takes hits. And for a player from the Philippines, a country that has never produced a top-tier WTA force before, A player who carries not just her own dreams, but the dreams of an entire nation on her racket. The pressure is unlike anything most of her peers can even imagine. But she put her head down. She went to the gym. She did the work when nobody was clapping for her. She built herself up quietly, in the spaces between the noise. And now she is showing up in Rome with a physical presence and a mental fortitude that is starting to make her opponents very, very uncomfortable. And this is the part that genuinely gives me chills every single time. She thanked the Filipino fans. Not in some generic, obligatory, off-the-cuff kind of way. She was specific. She thanked the Filipinos who were in Rome that day, sitting in the stands, waving their flags, wearing her name. And she thanked the ones back home, the ones watching on their phones at midnight, the ones who set their alarms at 3 in the morning to catch a live stream, the ones who have been following this girl since she was a teenager tearing up the junior circuit, believing in her when the rankings didn't yet reflect what they could see with their own eyes. Real supporters never disappear after a defeat. That's a truth that runs deep in this community, and the Filipino tennis fan base has embodied that truth like very few fan bases in the sport ever have. They have been with Alex through the losses, through the early exits, through the moments where the scoreboard told a story that the performance didn't deserve. They stayed. They believed. They kept showing up. And now, they are being rewarded with moments like this. Moments in Rome, in front of the world, where their girl is standing on clay and announcing herself to the sport in a language that requires no translation. Now let me zoom out and give you the bigger picture here, because context is everything. And the context surrounding Alex Eala's rise is one of the most compelling storylines in women's tennis right now. Eala burst onto the scene as a junior, and the hype was immediate and enormous. She trained at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Spain, which tells you everything you need to know about the level of investment and belief that existed in her game from a very early age. She was a multiple Grand Slam junior champion. She was the kind of prospect that makes tennis insiders get very excited very quickly. And then she made the transition to the professional tour, and the world waited to see if the junior brilliance would translate. That transition is the graveyard of so many promising careers. The professional tour is a different animal entirely. The margins are razor thin. Every opponent is prepared. Every surface demands mastery. The travel is relentless. The mental fortitude required to survive week after week on the WTA Tour is something that cannot be faked or borrowed. It has to be built, brick by brick, match by match, loss by loss. And for a period, there were questions. Not because Eala wasn't talented, the talent was never in doubt, but because the results were inconsistent, and in professional tennis, results are the currency that matters. But something has been shifting. You can feel it if you've been watching closely. There has been a maturity to Eala's game recently that goes beyond just hitting better shots. There is a composure to her, a belief. A willingness to stay in the fight even when the match isn't going her way, which is precisely what we saw on display in Rome against Wang Xinyu. She didn't crumble when the start was rough. She didn't press too hard and lose control of the match trying to force the issue. She trusted herself, made the right adjustments, increased her intensity with purpose and precision, and closed the match out with the confidence of someone who belongs. And she absolutely belongs. Let that be said clearly and loudly. Alex Eala belongs on the biggest stages in women's tennis. Now, what does the Italian Open mean in the context of the season? Everything. We are deep in the clay court swing, the stretch of the calendar that leads directly into Roland Garros, the French Open, the second Grand Slam of the year, and arguably the most physically and mentally demanding of the four. Clay is a surface that rewards patience, athleticism, tactical intelligence, and the ability to construct points over long rallies. All qualities that, when Eala is at her best, are very much part of her game. The fact that she is advancing at the Italian Open, on clay, against seeded opponents, right in the lead up to Roland Garros, is an enormous statement about where her game is right now. Every match she wins in Rome is confidence in the bank. Every time she solves a problem on that clay, adjusts her intensity, finds her intention, controls the rallies, she is building the muscle memory and mental blueprint she will need when she walks into Roland Garros and stares down her opening round. The timing of this form could not be more perfect, and the world is starting to notice. Because while Alex Eala has always had supporters who believed in her ceiling, there are now whispers in the tennis community, The kind of whispers that come from analysts and commentators and former players who are paid to know what they're talking about. That suggests something real is happening with this kid. That the investment in her game, the physical work she referenced after the match, the technical refinements that have been visible over the past weeks and months, are adding up to something. That the young woman who was once a stunning junior champion might be ready to impose herself on the WTA Tour in a way that nobody will be able to ignore. We have seen this kind of emergence happen before in tennis. We have watched players who were hyped as juniors take their time, find their footing, go through the growing pains, and then suddenly arrive, truly arrive, as forces to be reckoned with at the highest level. The question with Eala has always been when, never if. And the answer, increasingly, looks like it might be right now. Let me also talk about what this means for the Philippines, because this story is so much bigger than tennis. In a country where basketball has historically been the dominant sporting passion, where the culture of sport has always been rich and deep, but rarely represented at the elite level in individual global sports, Alex Eala is something genuinely new. She is a Filipino athlete competing week in and week out against the best women's tennis players on the planet, on courts in Rome and Paris and Melbourne and New York, and she is winning. She is advancing. She is giving the 30 million people who follow her and cheer for her and love her something they have never had before, a legitimate claim on the international tennis conversation. The Filipino fans who travel to Rome to watch her play are not just tourists. They are pioneers in a sense. They are part of a movement, part of a story that is being written in real time, and they know it. When they wave those flags in the stands of the Foro Italico, they are not just cheering for a tennis player. They are cheering for a dream that was once considered impossible, now unfolding point by point, match by match, on the grandest stages in the sport. And when Alex looks up at those flags and smiles and thanks them after a victory, there is a relationship there, a bond between athlete and community that is as genuine and powerful as anything you will find in sports right now. This is why the support never disappeared after the losses. This is why the fans kept showing up, kept watching, kept believing. Because they understood something that maybe the broader tennis world is only beginning to grasp, that Alex Eala is not just a player with potential. She is a player with destiny. And destiny doesn't always arrive on the first try. Sometimes it makes you wait. Sometimes it tests your patience and your faith and your willingness to stay in the room when the results aren't there. And the Filipino tennis community stayed in that room, faithfully, defiantly, lovingly, through every early exit and every difficult stretch. And now the room is getting brighter. The Italian Open is still unfolding as of this moment. Alex Eala is in the third round. There are more opponents to face, more adjustments to make, more moments to create or survive. Every day in Rome is an opportunity to write another line in a story that already has the bones of something legendary. She will face a tougher test in the next round. The draw at a WTA 1000 event does not get easier as you advance. It gets harder, and the opponents coming will be fully prepared and fully motivated. But here is what I know after watching this match, after listening to her words, after witnessing what she has been building these past months. Alex Eala is ready for whatever comes next. She said it herself. She is feeling great. She has been doing the work. She is finding her intensity, her intention, her control. She is standing on clay in Rome in the third round of a 1000-level event, straight-setting seeded opponents, and thanking her fans with the warmth and grace of someone who never forgot where she came from or who was cheering for her when the noise was quiet and the results were hard to find. That is the mark of a champion. Not just the wins, but the awareness. Not just the talent, but the character. Not just the shots, but the story behind them. And Alex Eala's story is one of the most beautiful and compelling ones in tennis right now. The world is noisy when you win. The headlines come, the clips go viral, the mentions pour in from every corner of the internet. But the real building, the real work, the real growth, that happened in the silence. In the gym sessions nobody filmed. In the practice courts in the early morning when the stands were empty. In the tactical conversations, in the video reviews, and the physical conditioning that turned her into the player she is becoming before our eyes. The silence is where loyalty is tested, and the Filipino fanbase passed that test with flying colors. Now the noise is starting again, and this time, it feels different. It feels earned in a way that only comes from surviving the silence together. Keep your eyes on Alex Eala, people. Keep watching this channel for every update, every match breakdown, every slice of the story as it continues to unfold in Rome and beyond. Because we are not just watching a good player have a good week. We are watching the beginning of something. And you are going to want to say you were here for it from the start.
Excited naman,
If this video got your blood pumping and your heart racing the way it got ours, then do us a favor. Hit that like button right now. Leave a comment below telling us how far you think Alex Eala can go at the Italian Open and beyond. And if you are not yet subscribed to Champions Tennisitics, then what on earth are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a moment of the coverage that keeps you closer to the game than anywhere else on the internet. We are here for every point, every match, every chapter of this incredible story. Stay with us, because with Alex Eala, the best is absolutely, unquestionably, still to come.
Alex Eala just shocked the tennis world. The young Filipino sensation took down two of the biggest names in the game. First, she faced world-class